look at that. Recording and transcribe.
Ooh, it'd be interesting to
S-
see the transcription because
Oh, want me to leave it on? Because I just turned it off.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Nope.
matter.
Nope. Let's turn it back on. No, what would have been interesting is if we transcribed it in like Japanese or
Oh,
different language.
that'd be
That would
cool.
have been fun. Let's do it.
So 1, 2, 3, go. Right? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, just making sure. I gotta
Yeah, I'm
make
ready.
sure. 1, 2, 3, go.
All right, welcome everybody to Sony After Hours Support, the extra or extra sauce, as we call it, episode 6.5. This is the non-live between the live, where we answer questions and talk about some overviews of getting the most out of your Sony products and answering questions. Of course, not being live makes it a little bit more difficult for you guys to ask us questions. However, you are absolutely welcome to join us live for our next show, which we will have on the Sony Support channel, as well as revisit some of our previous episodes. And you can also leave your questions in the comments of this video as well. My name is Derek, and with me, of course, is the all-important and wonderful Larry. Say hello.
What's good, everyone?
Hopefully all is good. Just to kind of quickly set the table, this is a little bit different because it is the holiday time, and this is the time that people get awesome gifts, and sometimes they have questions, don't they?
Oh, do they? Yes, indeed.
It's, I think one of the most frustrating things is getting an awesome gift and being so excited to use it, and then you're like, I don't know how to do it. What do I do?
Right.
So today, what are we going to be covering today on this particular video?
Okay, well, we're going to hopefully cover some of the key things, or I'm sorry, some of the exciting things that people have taken home. And I'm hoping someone has a TV and maybe someone got a sound bar, because that's what's on my list. And it'd be awesome for us to be able to walk you through how to get that going, or at least to give you some high-level reasons or things that you can do to make sure that you're enjoying it to the fullest.
Yes, and that's kind of the point of what we do, is we want to support everybody out there. This video will be out on some very important holiday time frame where people are hopefully getting some awesome stuff, as Larry said. I would love to get another TV, another soundbar. Do I need it? No, but would it be great? Yes, of course it would be. And we want to address some of those common challenges that some people face. We'll do our best to answer some of the questions during the holiday time period as well. So if you do have any additional questions, leave them in the comments of this video. And you can also check out our other lives, like I mentioned, as well, going on in the future. We'd love to have you. Send us a chat, and we'll answer your questions as best we can.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
without further ado, because I know a lot of those people that are out there that are like, I want to get my TV set up. I want to make sure I answer this question, whatever. Let's just dive into it. So
let's go.
I know the first question that most people have, because obviously you plug in your TV after you unboxed it, of course. You turn it on, and you got to go through this basic setup. The first question that most people run into is when they run into the basic setup or the Google setup.
Right.
What are your thoughts on why you should choose one over the other?
I got to tell you, and I know traditionally we're about click, 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 next, skip, not reading, agree to all, done, right? We're trying to just move forward. But there is a big difference in that experience between the basic setup and then the full, robust Google TV setup, right? For me personally, if we want to talk about some of the advantages of doing so, I think the ability to not just access all of the apps and content that's available, it's the ease of use in just signing into those apps, right? So one of the reasons why a lot of customers have not opted to go through extensive setups on different products or whatever, is because it seems long and challenging and trying. And look, I just want to watch TV, right? When you're talking
that's
about
usually why people, like you said, they kind of just skip through everything, but you might be missing out on some awesome features.
100%. So just in brief, like if you are someone who enjoys a lot of the streaming platforms that are out there, that's just where we are right now. And you already have a Google or a Gmail address set up. As soon as you log into that account using that Gmail, and you activate or go to one of those streaming apps, it will automatically recognize that you've signed into it before, and it'll show up Google Smart Lock. And it'll go ahead and lock in your password and log you in instantly. So you're not having to go through your memory bank of, okay, so was it an exclamation point or a dollar sign on that password? Because you know how that works, right? But yeah, that's one of the big things for me, Derek, man. Ease of use on logging in some of my apps.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And actually, to be fair, if you do the basic setup, you are strictly limited to some pre-installed apps.
Right.
You can't actually add any additional unless you log in with Google. So it's definitely recommended. And a couple of tips on that as well. When you are prompted to actually set up the TV with Google Home, which is another app that most people that have an Android device already have, I actually recommend doing that because it's scanning the QR code and it makes it so much easier to set everything up. It helps connect the TV to Wi-Fi so much faster, which of course is also very important. One of the other big benefits that I'm actually surprised you didn't mention, but I will mention it. When you do log in, not only do you have access to all of those apps that are available, but you also get over 800 free channels, which is awesome. I know, right? How did you forget? You're the one
I
who
didn't
yelled at me
bring that
about it
up because
earlier, too.
I'm still a little bitter because I need to call Mr. and Mrs. Google because you still have more free channels than I have, and I'm a bit frustrated. So I've no longer. I don't bring that up because I feel like you're going to throw it in my face, but it's whatever. But yeah, the access to all of that free content, it is the largest assortment of free channels available on any TV platform or operating system that you can get. Like, it is the absolute bee's knees when it comes to having access to a lot of free content. So trust. Yeah, good point, man.
Makes a big difference. And for those out there that are concerned about like privacy and things like that, if you don't want it to be connected to your existing email, you can create a new Gmail if you want to, strictly for the TV purposes, but it is entirely up to you. But there is a lot more you can get out of the TV if you do sign into Google and take advantage of those features. Not only is it more apps, it's the free TV channels, the customization of the TV as well. It can make good recommendations based on your watching habits or things that you like if you want it to. Also voice control and voice assistant, which is pretty cool too, because that can add a lot more of a quality of life, I guess, improvements if you're that type of person. So kind of depending. The next step. Go ahead.
Let's do it. No. I was thinking, when you said quality of life, I was sitting there thinking, I grew up thinking that, well, when we got to the year 2000, I was expecting to have my dinner in pill form and was expecting a robot to do everything. Now, we're not there yet, but having Google Assistant on your TV and any kind of IoT or Internet of Things connected devices that you have in your home, it does make it easier to do things. So go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. Well, while we're on it, let's just add a little bit of just off the cuff thing here. What do you use voice assistant for the most, or what is your favorite way to use it? This could be interesting.
Well, it can be because there's some seasonality involved in it, right? So,
sure.
I am. So let me just talk about a couple of things, right? Just really, really quick. One pain point that I have is, so my daughter's room is upstairs, so we'll be up there, we're playing, she's watching like cartoons or whatever, and then when she gets hungry, she's ready to eat. So I'm whisking her downstairs and we're, whatever we're eating, and now she's tired. But then I realize I left her TV on upstairs and I left her light on upstairs. And so I don't want to leave her unattended. And also I don't want to break her I'm almost sleep cycle to take her upstairs to turn everything off. So I do have I have my living room TV turn off my daughter's bedroom light as well as turn her TV off. So that's one
awesome.
thing, right?
That's awesome.
The second thing I have it is, so when I'm busy doing other things and supposed to be working and I need to set a reminder like have call with Derek in 15 minutes, I actually set a timer on my television so that I don't get caught up in binge watching something and forget that I'm supposed to be on a call with Derek. So TV reminds me. So that's what I do.
I'm going to challenge that. I feel like you just impulse call. happen. I mean, it's
Oh my
usually
God,
as
there's so
soon
much
as
truth to
a
that.
call is over, it's like, oh, I'm waiting for it on the bottom of my screen. I know he's going to call.
Yep.
I mean, there's so much we have to talk about anyway, but yeah, I
That's
don't
the
know if
truth.
you need
Yeah.
to set a reminder. You just kind of do it whenever you want to, which is totally fine.
You're not wrong. You're not
That's
wrong.
awesome. So, how I use it is, I guess, I don't know, call me more simple or simplified. Sony Simplified, plug for our other educational show. So make sure you check that out as well. With
Shout out to
Brayden
Brayden and Karina.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yes, they are doing an awesome job with that. But I use it pretty much in two ways. So my daughter sometimes sees weird cartoons or whatever, and she's like, oh, I want to watch this, and I'm like, I don't have a clue what you're talking about, because she saw it at someone else's house or grandma's house or whatever. And so it's like, okay, voice search, I'm looking for this, and surprisingly it does an amazing job of finding some of these things. So sometimes it'll come up with something similar. She'll be like, that one, cool, awesome, saves me a little bit of a headache and potentially some tantrums, if you will. Now she's great, I love her. But the other way
She is awesome.
that I use it is I like to just know things. So being able to just quickly ask a question of just like, who is this person, or what is this thing, or tell me about this. Like, it's awesome just to get a quick answer, or pull up a very quick video just to see something cool. So there's a ton of things that you can do with it, and it's definitely worth investing that time to get it set up and enjoy the benefits of what Google has to offer, because it's a lot. It's definitely.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. And, you know, just on a small little tangent to the nugget or whatever, because you made me think about something. It's very, very similar to what you use it for with respect to your daughter. But I'll have my mom, she'll call me and she'll say, oh, I just saw this great show named this, right? But I can't remember where I saw it. Because let's just be real. We all have like 15 streaming platform subscriptions, right? And it's all this battle of exclusive content. That is the cool thing with Voice Assistant. I don't have to know exactly where I can find the content. I can just ask the TV to watch something, and it'll pop up all of the available platforms that it's on, and then I could choose, right? So that made me think about that when you said that. So yeah.
There's a lot of amazing ways to use it. So I think that's a long way of saying we do recommend that you set it up with Google just to get things going. And to really enjoy the most of the TV outside of the great picture quality and all that other great things that Sony does with our TVs.
Yes.
The second thing that many, many people have an issue with is connecting with Wi-Fi. Now, if you're doing the initial setup, it is part of that process. If not, you can go into your TV settings at any time and go into the network settings and connect again that way. Just make sure you have your password ready to go, just to make it a little easier. It's vital if you're going to be streaming anything through the TV, of course, but also recommended just to make sure you have updates on the TV as well, because Sony is always improving and trying to add new features when it makes sense. So make sure that you have it connected to get the most and keep up to date with your TV as well.
100%. You know, and with that, Derek, if I can just add this, because this comes up in the comments all the time where just newsflash, especially those of you all who are getting a or have received, congratulations, a newer TV.
Yeah.
We're getting to the point that the Wi-Fi speeds of the TV are faster than the actual LAN cable connection speeds. So I'm sorry, it comes up a lot. It's like, how fast is the Ethernet port on the TV? Well, with a lot of the newer TVs, we've advanced such in Wi-Fi because we live in this wireless connected sort of world, that having that set up and walking through the steps and making sure it's done, there's a lot of benefits to it, even just from a quality of content experience as well. So, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good call out as well too. And the other thing I want to talk about too that other people come up with is, and we talked about it on the last episode of Sony After Hours Support, is how do you add additional applications? Because in the initial setup process, there is a list of a bunch of different apps, and you can just check mark all these popular apps and just have those installed during the setup process.
Right.
So how do you add additional ones? Because there isn't a specific app that you go into to find additional apps on the newer Sony TVs. That used to be the case. Now you just have to search in the apps for whatever app you're looking for.
Correct.
You can do this with voice search as well if you enabled it. or you can type it in whatever way. So if you are looking to add something specific, that's how you would do that and really kind of get the most out of it. Now, when you do that, another really cool thing that I am a huge fan of that I think we talked about a lot that it's underutilized is that you can customize the input menu, which I'm a huge fan of.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How's that work?
I'll
let you take
this.
So,
good. Yeah, because I'm super excited about it, right? So, we got, again, I'm trying not to give the long-winded stories. I'm sorry. An input historically has always been connected cable device or Blu-ray player or game console, right? But now, because so much of the content that we're watching comes from apps, technically that's an input as well. So here's the deal. So on your Sony remote, if you hit the input button, you'll see that it's defaulted where it'll say HDMI 1, HDMI 2, HDMI 3, maybe USB, and I think, I'm trying to remember the order. Anyway, if you go all the way to scroll to the far right, you will come up to an icon that says edit. When you click edit, it'll bring down another set of options below, and then you can click or check mark any of the apps that you're looking for that you can now add, right? You can just boom, boom, boom. You can add all of them. So when you're talking or you're thinking about your inputs, think about input as content. Like, this is what I want to watch. So now you bring up the input button, you have your quick access to the row of your favorite apps, and you can easily navigate them without having to go out of what you're watching to one home screen and then into another one. You can just go from A to B and get there quickly. So yeah,
absolutely.
So that works.
Yeah, it's such an underutilized feature that just, again, that quality of life, just not everybody's going to want to use it or care, but I think it's awesome because it does make it easier just to kind of put things up there that are important versus going into the home menu. Just save some steps if you need to.
Can I mention one more thing real quick, Derek, on that? Because this is something that I know that some customers have not understood. It's when you go to the home screen, you have a row of apps that are already there. But then you follow Derek's instructions and you download some other apps, but they don't appear on that row. And you're like, what the heck do I do, right? So here's just quick pro tip for you real quick, because it's not as obvious as you think, or as it may be. Anyway, so at the top of your home screen, you scroll to the right till you get to the header apps. Click on apps and you'll see sort of a catalog of all your apps. Towards the middle of the screen, you'll see a white line across it. Everything that's below that white line is not considered one of your quote unquote favorites. Thus, it will not be on that home screen of apps. All you have to do is scroll below the white line, find the app that you're interested in, long press it, menu pops up, you select the option to move, and then you just tap up, to move it up above the white line. But more importantly, you also can prioritize those apps by shifting and moving those that are above the white line in left to right, top, bottom order, as you want them to appear left to right on the home screen. So anyway, just a quick pro tip for you on even how to just customize your favorite apps to even make it to make it easy to access if you do go to the home screen. So
no, that's a good call out. That's I know that does come up often because people are like, where is the app that I downloaded? And sometimes they have to go in and keep searching for it. Just to clarify one extra thing on there, I don't have a TV remote because I don't have a TV in here aside from a older Sony one that's smaller on my desk here, but the long press is going to be that center button between the up, down, left, right arrows. So press and hold that center button there. That's just to clarify exactly what that is. I don't know if you have one that you can kind of show, but we could put one on screen, I'm sure, because this is not live. I got to remember that.
Right.
Like it's live, but we can add that.
Fix it in post. Yeah, we'll fix it in post, Eric.
Yeah. So once you get all the apps set, which is going to be a major part of what most people are watching, but of course there are going to be additional devices that might be connected, maybe a separate streaming device. I'm hitting stuff on my desk here. Additional streaming devices or consoles or whatever the case may be. And I just did a Did You Know video on this a couple weeks ago. I don't remember when. When you plug in new devices, which actually during the setup process, it'll say, hey, do you want to connect devices now? You could do that. I would recommend it that you do that, follow the prompts, because then it's going to do what I'm going to recommend. But if you add a device later, it still will prompt for a device setup that will pop up on the top right of the screen. I recommend doing this because there is a purpose for it. This will help the TV identify what are the capabilities of this device to make sure you're getting the best HDMI settings for that device. Because sometimes you might be missing out on something like HDR performance or something like that because it's not set up properly. Now, you may want to also check on that device that you're actually, where the device is actually sending an HDR signal, or a console is set for VRR, variable refresh rate, things like that as well. You may want to double check that on that end, but make sure the TV does the device setup, and you should be good to go.
That's a great point. I love that you covered that in your the short, because there are tons of people that, again, they plug something in, window pops up on the top right, and they just dismiss it immediately.
Right. It's that reaction. Nah, I got it. It's fine.
Yeah. Too funny. Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, honestly, that's most of the challenges that people may have when setting up the Sony TV. They're pretty much straightforward. You can use the quick settings button, which is a little gear icon that can pull up additional settings to adjust your brightness or your picture mode or whatever it is that you're looking to do there as well. That's really personal preference more than anything. So you can do with it as you will. But if you do have additional questions, make sure you throw it in the comments here, or join us on our next Sony After Hour Support Live, where you can talk to us live and ask those questions, and we'll do our best to answer that. If we can't, we will answer it after the live at some point. So
hey,
as
Derek,
yes.
Before, this is just me doing Larry things. I'm sorry. I just
I
thought about
expected.
well, look at you. So one tiny thing also, because we're always updating our products to improve performance and quality. Here's another pro tip for you. You've just got your TV, you plugged it in, you've gone through all the great steps, all the ones that Derek has just talked about, connected to Wi-Fi and all that, right? If you don't mind, go to your settings menu, which is gear icon all the way up, scroll to the right, click gear icon, and then another sub menu pops up. Scroll down to device preferences, and you want to scroll and click on about. I'm trying to go off memory, so forgive me.
Okay.
And then after you click on about, you'll see something at the top that says something like check for software update. Okay. As soon as you plug your TV in, that's the first thing that you should do, because there is a chance that sometime between manufacturing, packaging, shipping, and then you unwrapping, there may have been some great enhancements that have been delivered to the TV that you want to be able to just update right out of the box. So quick pro tip, we'll throw some B-roll action so you can see it. Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great call out. It will prompt in the initial setup. It will check once you get it initially connected those updates, but sometimes it's good just to make sure. Or if you already have a TV and you're waiting for the next section where we talk about soundbars, which I probably should have said in the beginning, so maybe we'll actually make a little separate clip to put at the beginning, because we didn't talk about that yet, and it's already been, I don't know, 20 minutes or whatever. But where was I going with that? Yes, you should always check that every now and then just to make sure, because if you for some reason don't have automatic updates turned on, you might be missing out on some pretty cool stuff. So make sure you check 100%. That out as well.
Look at that.
Speaking of soundbars, that's really where we're going to go next, because on my list of what's the setup process? And I was thinking, well, if you're going to connect a soundbar or an audio system, specifically we're going to talk about soundbar, semi AVR as well. And I was like, maybe we should just talk about that at this time too. So that's what we're going to do.
Sure.
I think it just makes sense.
Sure.
When I know, right? Go figure. So one of the things, so let's dive into soundbar setup, which is pretty straightforward, similar to the TV. The nice thing is that most of these things you need to do are in an easy setup. It literally is called easy setup on the soundbars, as well as the Sony receivers as well. So you kind of just follow the steps. But I know that some people have questions about that initial connection.
Yes.
eARC.
Yes. Yeah.
Always a bit of a challenge for many people.
eARC is definitely something that you have to utilize eARC. I hate to say that, right? Like, it is such for the full audio experience. And if
Yeah.
look, listen, I'm not trying to say anything about someone who you may have spoken to in a store that may have told you that the best way to connect your soundbar is with an optical cable. Look, I'll have that debate in the chat. If you want to have a discussion, hop in the comments and we can definitely do that. However, if you think about how thin a optical cable is compared to an HDMI cable, just science says that more data can be transmitted through that enhanced audio return channel, which is what EARC is an acronym for. Key part of that is enhanced. So on our Sony TVs for at least the past couple of generations, it has been HDMI 3. Okay, so you want to make sure you're doing that. So you want to go HDMI 3 from the TV into the output HDMI of the soundbar, which is kind of really cool because it's a two-way track on there. But anyway, also with your HDMI cable, Derek has reminded me of this in the past, so I will steal his thunder this time. Make sure that you have a high-speed HDMI cable, but also there is a such thing as a directional HDMI cable where it is like source to display, or I can't remember how they label them on there. So you want to kind of check those things depending on which HDMI cable that you have. But just by connecting your soundbar to the TV, utilizing eARC, you open up a bunch of performance. So if you're watching streaming content on your television that the audio soundtrack is delivered in Dolby Atmos, for example, the only way that you can get Dolby Atmos to your soundbar from your TV is via that eARC connection. Yeah. Unfortunately, optical cable is going to compress it down to just Dolby Digital, which is like not the same. So I for me, that's a big advantage for both Dolby Atmos and DTSX. Both of those are 3D audio formats that just give you a more immersive experience when watching some of the content. So eARC, yes.
Yeah, yeah, and just I want to add a little bit more to that because there's still a pretty popular question. I know we did a video, I don't know, it was probably 2 years ago, one of our very beginning videos. So I'm sure it's probably not great at this point by our new standards, but you know, hey, we've been growing since. But there was a video about ARC versus eARC, and very quickly, just to answer that question, eARC is basically the new standard for that, and as Larry mentioned, it's enhanced. So it's enhanced audio return channel. The nice thing about that, especially compared to optical, is that HDMI ARC connection is a two-way street, where the TV can send its audio to your audio device, and it can also communicate like settings, like volume control from your TV remote, or when you press power to turn your TV off, it'll turn off the soundbar. They kind of communicate a little bit better. But also to that point where Larry mentioned that enhanced portion, because ARC has been around for a while, not as long as optical, but enhanced ARC or eARC will be labeled on any device that supports it. If it doesn't say eARC, it will not support it. It will support ARC if it says ARC. So you may have to check. In order to get the best settings, as Larry mentioned, you want eARC because that will support higher bandwidth, which will give you that Dolby Atmos, that DTSX, those 3D audio support to really get the most out of it, out of like the A-series soundbars and things like that Sony offers.
Good
Definitely
point.
good
Look
to
at
know.
you. Yep. Look at you delivering the goods.
I try. I try. So the other part of like setting up a soundbar, I did mention the easy setup, which I do recommend that you do, and it literally will walk you through very similar setups to like the TV. It's like very introductory. We're going to have you connect to your network, which make sure you do on the soundbar, and here's why. Because some people be like, it's a soundbar, doesn't need to be. Just like a TV, updates. Updates are important because we've actually had some very cool updates that have come out on some of our A-series soundbars that allowed for additional functionality, which has been awesome. So it can make a big difference in your performance. The sorry, did I cut you off?
No. Keep going. I'm gonna jump in
like
a second. Trust.
Okay, I was gonna say, I feel like I'm taking all of this, and I don't want to be the only one here in the room.
Oh, come on, man. No, hey, well, I'm here too. So, no, go ahead. No, you're good. Yeah.
The other, so once you get it connected, if there is an update available, it will update right away. The next question that can come up, which depending on your soundbar or the receiver, Sony specifically, as well as your TV, you might be able to take advantage of acoustic center sync.
Ooh, that's fancy. That's fancy.
I know.
Acoustic center sync is one of my favorite features.
I know. You want to talk a little bit about why that might be important or why that may be a good thing to check out?
Sure, 100%. The relationship between what you hear and what you see thus far, right up until like recent years, has been a disconnected experience, if you will, especially if you're wall mounting your TV like the majority of the people in the world now, right? So you're looking at something up here and the audio is coming from down here, which is kind of an unusual thing, right? Acoustic center sync blends that experience together. So in short, on our A-series soundbars with our compatible Sony TVs, which is all of the XR televisions, okay, so I'm not going to list them all, but there's a bunch of them. The XR TVs, what it basically does is the soundbar delivers all of the key elements of sound, explosions, booms, and dog barking, and all that kind of stuff, right? And it provides this three-dimensional experience all around the room. But what's cool about Acoustic Center Sync is it takes what I think is the most critical element of the soundtrack of a movie, which are the subject's voices on screen, and pulls them out of the soundbar and puts them on the TV. So the benefit to you by utilizing or taking advantage of Acoustic Center Sync is now what you're looking at when you see John Smith talking to Jane Smith. I hope I'm not referencing a movie with that. Anyway, when you're, I'm sure I am, but when you see them having a conversation on screen, their voices are coming from the screen, directly from what you're looking at. And then all of the audio around them is occurring around you. So it's an amazing experience. And I got to tell you, listen, as you're unboxing your soundbar and you're excited and you're tearing through all of those recycled materials, see what I did there? Please don't throw away some of the cables, because this Acoustic Center Sync feature that we're talking about, there is inside of the soundbar, it's going to come with the cable that enables you to connect your soundbar to the television, so you don't want to have to go rummaging through the garbage before trash day to find it. So there you go.
Yeah, and that actually, that was a perfect point for me to cut you off, actually.
There you go.
Because this is another common question, is how do you set it up? And to your point, you've got to have that cable. It's going to be important. And on the back of the soundbar is the S center out, in?
Yes.
Out on the bar. Woo. And yeah, because it's sending it out of there and into the TV. Yes. Wow. Remember my first day again. And then on the TV, as long as you do have a compatible Sony TV that does support this, you will have S center in, and you'll just take that cable and just connect the two. Now you will probably need to go into the TV quick settings into your sound options for an option to enable Acoustic Center Sync. So make sure you turn that on as well, and you should be good to go. Now,
good point.
Once you get to this point, or during the setup process for the soundbar, it is going to ask you as well, once you have all this stuff connected and you're getting through the setup, it's going to ask you if you have other devices you want to connect. Because many of our soundbars, as well as our newer receivers, actually support optional rears or optional subwoofers as well. So if you want to get that more atmospheric, immersive sound, this is the time to connect those.
Atmospheric, immersive sound.
Yes.
I just felt appropriate.
Did. I kind of, maybe we can have Marvin add some like echo or something to it just to kind of make it more immersive.
Producer Marvin,
Marvin will
do
do what
that.
he's gonna do.
Yeah, he's probably gonna do his thing.
Probably need to cut out some of these sections where we're just yapping about nothing, but we'll see what he does. I don't know. It would be live, but it's not live, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's okay.
Once you so in order to connect these additional devices, they will have their own setup. We're not going through like a full walkthrough. We'll probably link a couple videos to get you to where you need to go in case you do have any questions. But generally, you plug them in, which is the coolest thing. I remember the first time I got mine to test out, and I had the rears and a subwoofer. And it was like, hey, do you have other devices? Plug them in. I was like, all right, cool. I plug in the rears, I plug in the subwoofer, and then they're just like flash, 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 connected.
Yep.
Sweet. Done. Makes it super simple. But if you do have any challenges with that, there are some videos that can help with that. Or you can throw that in the comments, and we'll hopefully at least steer you to somewhere where you can get the best answer for that. Now,
100%.
Once you have that connected, my favorite part of our soundbars and our sound systems, SFO. Sound field optimization. I am a huge fan of that. You want to talk a little bit about what is SFO, as we constantly talk about all these acronyms? Sound field optimization.
Sound field optimization. I don't think we talk enough about SFO. We don't.
Agreed.
A lot of times you can listen, you go to different chats and forums, and they're talking about different manufacturer soundbars. Here I am taking shots or throwing shade, but it's always like, well, I'm not getting the experience that I thought, right? And then you'll have, someone that's like an expert chime in and say, well, do you have vaulted ceilings? And do you have this? Because traditional, air quotes, soundbars are designed to perform in perfectly square rooms with no more than 12 feet flat ceilings, right? Like that's kind of the best
seating
environment
in the middle and nicely spaced to the walls and the sides.
100%. Yeah.
So
everything.
Uncommon to have that.
Right. Except for that one lab that they tested the bar in, right? It's just crazy. But anyway, what SFO does, which is so cool, is it basically, so think about it like this. So it is analyzing the structure, layout, height, everything within the room. And it takes that information, once it identifies your space, where your walls are, how high your ceiling is it flat or not, all of those details, and then it sends it into its internal processor, right? And it starts to set up a configuration of how it can best perform uniquely for you. I know sometimes I feel like I'm overstating this, but imagine if you went to a tailor to custom make a suit for you. That is a very different experience than buying off the rack, which like I have to do, right? But anyway, this bar is what it is doing. It's saying, yes, you bought this incredible Sony soundbar, but I'm going to now make it Derek's Sony soundbar by customizing its experience, to your room, which I think is like so dope. So I love that. SFO is all about it.
Yeah. And I think one of the best ways that I explained it when it first launched, when I was talking to customers in stores, was it's more of the soundbar tailoring the sound to your space rather than having you have to worry about moving things around in your room to get the best acoustics. Yeah. Which is, you're talking about ease of use. Like, that's one of the best things you can do for somebody who doesn't want to spend the time and measure it out and perfect seating measurements and angles and all this stuff. I just want to enjoy it. I like good audio and I have my spaces for it, but there are spaces where it's just like, hey, just let it do its thing. It does an amazing job, so I don't have to worry about it. So definitely saves some time.
Agreed.
The second one I want to get your opinion on is more acronyms, right? 360 SSM, or 360 spatial sound mapping, which does require the rears as well to make it actually work. But what's the deal with that?
Okay, so it is like think about it as a sequel to your favorite movie, but the sequel is better than the original. Okay, so SFO, as it is, it's amazing, and that is the experience that it creates, this custom experience if you don't have the wireless rears, to your point, right? Which means it's still an amazing experience, the best experience for your space, for the bar. Now, 360 SSM, spatial sound mapping, does just that. It takes all of the information collected from SFO. It identifies the placement of your rear speakers, because they don't have to be, I'll call them, conventionally or traditionally placed. Normally, they have to be equidistant from the bar, and then equidistance left and right from your listener level, which is where you are in the center of the room or whatever, in order for you to get that. look, you can place one on a bookshelf to your left facing you. You can have one mounted on the wall facing forward. The bar, in conjunction with SFO, identifies where these rear speakers are, and then it now maps the room, or it maps a 360 spherical space. And when you're talking about Dolby Atmos and DTSX, which are 3-dimensional audio formats that place audio around the room, now the bar can take that information and say, well, I know in Derek's room, he actually has his speaker here and this speaker there. And it can now place the audio with respect to the placement of the speaker. So again, your unconventional placement doesn't negatively impact the experience that you expect from a 3-dimensional sound format. So I don't know if that was like weirdly technical, but yeah, that was, man.
It was a lot of info, but it was a lot of good info because they are so similar in many respects. But I think you put it together well, that it is kind of takes it to the next level, because to your point, a lot of people's rooms just, you can't get it perfect, right? And the SFO, sound field optimization, will work with the bar, and it'll work with what's there. You add in the rears, and now you have a whole new level of additional sound happening that 360 spatial sound mapping will do a better job incorporating that in to make sure that identifies where they are to give you the best, most immersive sound based on your layout as well as the room, which is kind of the best of both worlds. So
it is.
Well done, sir. Well done.
I learned from the best, sir.
But I want to add in one extra thing just as like a bonus to those of you who may not have purchased the subwoofers or the rears. They are optional, but they do add a lot. But in speaking of the 360 spatial sound mapping, I do want to kind of talk about an SFO as well. The RS5s as rears, I just want to call them out specifically because I love the fact that they can work with battery power. So you don't necessarily have to have them plugged in all the time. You will once they start getting low, because they obviously will need to be charged. But there's basically a calibrate. I forget what the button is actually called. It's a calibration button that basically will do that 360 spatial sound mapping. So if you don't put them in the same place every time, or you can't, you can just press that. 30 seconds later, you're locked in, you're loaded, you're acoustically beautifully set. Now if that makes sense. So just wanted to kind of call that out.
That's a great call out.
So as we get towards the end here, again, just want to remind everybody that if you have any questions, make sure you throw them in the comments. Larry and I will do our best to get to them as soon as we can. Additionally, please join us with our Sony After Hours Support Live, where you can ask us questions live if you want to know a little bit more or get some ideas. And that is more than just TV and soundbar. It tends to be some of our favorite bits of content, but we're going to do another one of these videos about wireless speakers and headphones for this holiday time frame. But going forward, if you have questions about cameras or other Sony things, we will do our best to answer and support you in every way that we can. But the last thing I want to talk about, and let's just say that you have not a Sony TV, something else. I don't know why, but it could happen. It could happen, right?
It could.
I know. It's like, pain me to say that, but it happens, right?
It does.
If you do have a Sony soundbar and now you're like, why isn't it working? Just a quick reminder that many TVs, you might need to actually go into their settings in the menu and tell the TV to send the audio out. Some people forget that step and think that there's something wrong with it, but that could be the easy fix. Now, depending on the TV, you may need to check that out, but if it's a Sony, shouldn't have to worry about it. But in the case that if you do have an issue and it's not set that way, you can also do that on Sony TVs as well.
Yep. That's a great point, man. Look at you, just such a wealth of knowledge.
I've worked too many holidays in retail and had all those questions of people coming back. This doesn't work. It's like, well, wait a minute. Let me ask you some questions. And okay, did you try this? Did you do this? And it's like, I didn't know, because we are in this instant gratification culture of just I can do this. I know everything, and I know I don't. There's a lot of times where I do dive in. When I get a new Sony product, I'm like, Sony product, I know all about it, and then I'm like, wait, why doesn't this work? What did I do?
Right.
And I might have to actually
Right.
go and look, oh, I skipped a step because I was a little bit too confident.
Yep.
But
it happens.
that's
Good
how
point.
we learn.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this was way longer than I anticipated, but that's okay. That's okay. Always a pleasure talking to you, Larry, as always.
Dude.
That's redundant to say that twice, but I guess it's just that special. Looking forward to the next live, which is going to be an
Yes.
interesting one, as
It will
we
be
have
fun.
CES coming up. So
Ooh.
make sure you check it out. Make sure you follow us,
Mhm.
and make sure you tune in for the next Sony After Hours support with the incredible Larry and myself, Derek. And send us some comments. What would you like to see from us? Questions that you might have,
Yep.
and we'll do our best to support in any way we can. So I think that's it. You got anything else you want to add? That's
it. It's always a pleasure. And hey, guys, enjoy. Guys and girls,
Yeah.
enjoy your time.
Absolutely. And again, let us know whatever we can do to help and support, and check out our other videos as well, and make some comments on there if you wish, and we'll see you soon. And
Love it.
we got to make some more videos.
Yeah, gotta go.
So Larry, I'll talk to you soon. Everybody else, hopefully you'll join us soon. Thanks.
All right, see ya.
See ya.